Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final session for the day for Launch 2024. You're all here because you want to learn how to become a millionaire. So do I. Well, you guys are in for a great big treat with my friend Gus. He is fantastic and a knowledgeable guy. Listen to him, ask lots of questions in the Q&A. Just don't ask inappropriate questions because then I'll have to kick you out of the platform. So let's get right into it. Gus, over to you. Just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then let us know how we become rich.
So I almost feel like we're on how Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the show. So I'm a financial planner, a tax and estate planner. I run my own company here in Canada, Ontario, been one for 22 years. And just, my main goal today is just help you guys realize that the little things that you can do and using the right vehicles can help you become, a millionaire. So when people talk about that, like, how do I become a millionaire? It's not gambling, it's not winning the lottery, it's just hard work and discipline. And one of the secrets that I've learned over the years, and I've passed to my own 24-year-old daughter, is, that really when it comes to investing, it's not the investment that really matters, it's the time in the market. So from what I understand, all of you guys are in grade 10, 11, 12. So you're kind of in that 16, 17, 18 range. And what I'm going to show you today is basically if you can invest $6,000 a year from the time you're 18, by the time you're 50, 51, 52, you'll have $1 million depending on the return. How do we do that? What do we do? That's what I'm going to teach you today. So basically, we start out with discipline through budget, so I don't know how many of you have a part-time job or have work in the summer. Um, and a lot of people just kind of think that, I work and I spend what I make and I'm good. But that's not how you build wealth. You build wealth by a disciplined approach of, budgeting and making sure that you enjoy life, you have fun, and you also um, put some money aside for a rainy day or for future, or in the case of what I'm talking about today, trying to help you become a millionaire by the time you're in your 50s. So basically what I'm looking at here is to explain a few concepts. So how do we achieve that? So first, I don't know how many people here are aware of what a tax-free savings account is, but a tax-free savings account is a type of account. So basically think of it as, you know, uh, the outer shell, the coat that you put on to cover your body. So that coat is the tax-free savings account. Now, what you put inside that tax-free savings account can vary any type of investment. It can be a bank account. It can be what we call the guaranteed investment certificate or a GIC. It can be in bonds. It can be in stocks. It can be in cryptocurrency. It can be in anything. Those are the actual vehicles that create what's called a return. Now, the beauty of the tax-free savings account is you don't pay taxes on any of the returns that you get. You don't pay taxes on the deposits, you don't pay taxes on the growth, and down the road, you don't pay any tax on the withdrawal of it. So for you guys who are young, 18, you have the perfect investment vehicle to help you become a millionaire sooner rather than later. The second thing is, so how do you achieve that? So compounding, I'm going to use this word quite often tonight. Compounding is your money makes money, and your money that made that money continues to make money. So if I use the example, if you put in $100 and you make 5%, Well, you made $5 in year one. The next year, that you don't just have $100, now you have $105, and it makes another 5%. Then that year, that becomes 112. The next year, you do 112 at 5% and so on. That's the magic of compounding. When your money is big enough and large enough that that return is making money on top of previous year's returns over a medium or long term of time, that is how you become really, really wealthy. The next thing that I want you guys to kind of know about is what we call the rule of 72. The rule of 72 means whatever return you get, be it, let's use an easy number for division. So let's say 8%. If you make 8%, you divide that into 72, it means your money doubles every 9 years. So if you had $10,000 in year one, after 9 years, you'll have 20,000. After 18 years, you'll have 40,000. After 27 years, you'll have 80,000. So that is the magic of basically the rule of 72 explained very easily on the magic of compounding for you. Christina, I'm just seeing some questions and answers.
Yep, Gus, feel free to read the questions out and answer them. Some of them you have, but some people may have joined late and may have missed some of the definitions.
Yeah. So I'll just start at the top, as I'll let you deal with the first one. Compounding, I think I answered that. Compounding just means that your money is, growing on top of what it already made the previous year. I'll show you an example of how compounding works in a second through a slide. So Ali, for you, yes, I use these for myself, and I am quite wealthy. So I hope that helps. I'm not going to tell you what I'm worth, but to give you an example, my daughter is 24, and she's already, well on her way to becoming a millionaire at 24, following the rules. For the question of why 72, I'm not really sure why it is. It's just mathematically how it works out. And those are just kind of like basics of finance that we learn while we're in school. What resources, books, courses, or mentors were most helpful to you on my journey? So I will say I follow Warren Buffett. I've read everything that I can on Warren Buffett. Another one is a book, if I can help you understand, it's The Wealthy Barber hold on here, I'll just see where I've got it. The Wealthy Barber is a really good book that will help you go. There's another one called The Automatic Millionaire. I'll give those to Christina and she can tell you guys. Just trying to see. So I'm gonna go back to these questions. So I'm just gonna go back to the presentation about where I'm at. So anyways, the reason that I say, I'm just going to share my screen here so you guys can see this kind of working. And again, how you do this all depends on what investments you choose. The higher the risk, the more return, the more potential for losses, but at the same time, the more potential for gains. So can everybody see this? I can't see any of the responses, Christina, but can you tell me if you can see this?
Yes, we see the chart.
Okay. So this is a chart of what I did for my daughter and her friends for them to understand the magic of what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is if you invest $500 a month, or you catch up. Any amount is really where you start, but I'm showing like $500 a month when you're 18 until you're 65. So, and you earn 6% return. By the time you're 65, you would have 1.588 million 527. If everybody can see that there. Okay. And this is the magic of compounding. So if you were in 2021 and you were 18 years old and you put a total of $6,000 in and you made 6%, your money would have grown to 6,192. The next year you add in another 6,000, so you have now 12,192, but the investment grew to 12,755. If you look down here, if you do that all the way until you're 50, if you make 6%, you'll have $602,703 by the time you're 50. Not a bad start. There's a lot of people who don't have that kind of money by the time they're 50. By the time you're 65, you have 1.588 million in it, and you put in 288,000. So that is your magic of compounding that we have for wealth. Now, what happens if you make a little bit more money? So if you make 8%, same deal, you're still putting in $500 a month. You're just making a little bit more money. Well, now by the time you're 65, you will have $3,065,231. Again, the last example, you would have had $192. With 8%, you would have had 254. If you look here, this is what I'm saying. By the time you're 50, you have 912,759, making 8%, close to $1 million. By the time you're 52, you broke $1 million. If you continue down the same path until you're, 65, when you go to retire, you have $3,065,231 when you only invested $288,000. So that's the magic of compounding. I'm just going to stop sharing here a second. So I'm just going to go to the questions and answers here. So should you invest in the stock market? Well, there's different types of investments. Like I said, you can invest in the stock market, or you can invest in GICs. It depends. Everybody, when I work with people to help them invest, I'm normally trying to figure out what their risk tolerance is, meaning what's their amount of risk. The one thing that I can tell younger people who are just starting out, it's time in the market. It's the length of time that you have. There has never been a period in the stock market's history that over the long term of the market has not provided a return. So basically, it's time in the market, which is why I really advocate for younger people to start, because you have a long runway, just like a big airplane needs a long runway. Well, to get 1 million, 1.5, 1.6, $3 million, you've got the runway. Whereas someone who maybe just starts investing when they're 40, they don't have as long a runway, right? 48 years versus, 28 years. That's a big difference if you remember the rule of 72 about every period, depending on the return, what your money doubles by. I didn't get that. Could you try? The other thing, so I'm just going to go to this question. I am teaching this based on experience. Have I learned about this but haven't tried techniques because it takes 50 years? No, I've learned this stuff. I've studied it. I am invested in the market. I do have, over $1 million in investments. And I continue to go through my tactics so that I build more and I can hopefully one day retire or do whatever it is I'd like to do. Do you think only businesses can make someone a millionaire and not becoming a lawyer or doctor? No, I think really what it comes down to discipline is how you manage your money and how you budget. If you budget your money well and you make a conscious effort to put money aside to build, it doesn't matter if you start at $25 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, you want to start the process. I have lots of clients who spend what they make, and I have other clients who, save what they make. It all depends on what you choose. So, if you choose to spend your money on new Adidas or new Nikes or a new iPhone every 3-4 years, well, that's money that you're not putting away that you could potentially help you make you into a millionaire by the time you're in your 50s. What habits, methods have you used to help you stay consistent with your budgeting investing? So the first thing is I have a rule, so I put away 20% of my income towards investing. So that is, it's called pay yourself first. If you pay yourself first and you spend the rest of the money that you have, you're able to do this. The other thing that I do is with investing, like I said, the reason I say to invest on a monthly basis, if you invest on a monthly basis, the stock market goes up and down. So there are some months the market goes up, your $500 buys less units or shares of a stock. Whereas if you have the market goes down, you buy more units. But over time, all those times that you bought more units when the stock market was down, your value will go up, and that's compounding as well. So how does investing actually work? So what are you investing into, a specific company or just in general? So there's many different types of investments. Most people invest in what's called mutual funds. Mutual funds is just a professionally managed ratio of companies, and the fund manager makes decisions on whether he buys, RBC or TD or that, and your money is pooled with all other investors who invest in that fund. There's other people who buy stocks on their own. And if they choose to buy the stocks on their own, then it's up to them to do the research and analysis to see, will that stock be profitable? Is it a good company? Is it a bad company? So that you don't lose your money, So that is basically whatever someone would like to invest. There's many different choices of what you can do. If you could go back and start over with only $1,000, what would be my first step? I'd just invest in a mutual fund and let the money go. That's the best advice I can say. Let the market work for you. Don't worry about the non-taxable investment. That's if you're using an investment outside of a tax-free savings account. Where do I invest? So I'm invested all over the world. I have Canadian companies, I have US companies, I have global companies in Europe. I have fixed income, I have Canadian bonds. So I have a broad range of what we call diversified investments. I am currently unable to put away 6,000 a year and can only invest $1,000. What should I do with this money to make the most of it? So again, it's just getting started, Shreya. If you want to, if you only have $1,000 and you're okay, then I would look at, a conservative investment that makes you somewhere between 4 to 6%. It's all about just getting started. It's not about the amount right now. It's just giving you guys the foundation and the idea of what to do and how to do it in order to achieve goals. Does this mean we have to invest $6,000 each year and keep it going? Yep, that's how investing works. You put money in monthly, whatever you can. The TFSA, I use 6,000 because that's an easy number because of what the government says we can put in it. So that is the best way. What if failure occurs in investing? So again, yes, there's ups and downs in investing, but if you do your research and you're picking a good, fund that has good companies. So the way I answer that question to everybody is everyone always has, who's your cell phone with? Apple. Do you think Apple's going to go bankrupt or is going to be replaced by anybody? Probably not. Who's your internet with? Well, in Canada, it's probably TELUS, Bell, or Rogers. Those are big companies that have been around. Where do you do your banking? TD, RBC, Scotiabank, Bank of Montreal. Again, those are good, solid companies that are around. So, the only time where there's a failure in investing is if you're going into speculative investments or you don't understand what you're investing in. Warren Buffett once said that, if I don't understand what I'm investing in, I will not invest. And that's the same approach. But you're young, you don't know investing yet. But if you're looking at companies, you have to, what services do you use and what companies do you recognize? So that's why I brought up the banks. I brought up Rogers and Bell and TELUS. I brought up Apple, Nike, Adidas. Like those are all companies that have been around a long, long time that will probably do quite well for you over the long term. Christina, I'll let you answer the what if you use the earnings from the investment with a monthly 500?
No, go for it.
Okay. So really, with you're not gonna if you make 5% a year on $500 and but you're not gonna live very long on that. So 5% of $500 is $2.50 broken down by 12 months. It's about 25 cents a month. I don't think you're going to be living on that. I don't even think you can buy a cup of coffee. But what it is doing is it starts to compound over time. So that way, when you're older, you'll be able to, have the money. And then that money, that difference of what you're making, you can definitely use over time for when you retire, or if you want to retire early, or if you want to slow down, work part-time, you can do that with a supplement of that income as it grows bigger. Just looking here. What if you can't put aside money at 18 years old? Would this drastically affect your chances of being wealthy? The answer to that is a categoric no. I'm just saying that if you can start investing, if you can start putting in $25 or $50 a month, if you can't do it at 18, at 19, if you can't do it at 19, at 20, just start with learning the concept of pay yourself first and start building your wealth, because the fact that you're so young and you have so much time to be able to be invested in the markets allows you the chance to build your wealth to $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever you are by the time you're in your 50s, rather than waiting until you're in your 30s or 40s to start investing. What are some helpful habits to help become wealthy? That's a great question. Again, I kind of referenced to it earlier, is pay yourself first. So if you are working and you can, you know, put aside a little bit of money and just pay yourself first before you go spend all your money on coffee, donuts, phones, clothes, whatever. If you can get into that habit when you're young, it will be much easier for you when you get older and you have a higher income and you're able to really start to build your wealth that way. But again, starting early allows you the ability to be able to pay yourself and to start building your wealth and your net worth over time. How important is avoiding taxes on returns and establishing legal corporations to perform that? So I'm going to answer the first part of that question. Yes, the taxes erode. So depending on where you invest your money, taxes erode your wealth. So if you invest outside of a tax-free savings account, say it's a non-registered account, then that column that you see, non-taxable investment income, that money is a certain portion that is taxed every year. Now, the only time you can establish a legal corporation is if you're a professional, you're running a business and you're investing inside that business, then you can incorporate. But to incorporate just to invest, you can't do that. Where should you invest that is so stable that you constantly get 6 to 8% return growth over 50 years? So that's a good question. That 6 to 8% is not a constant. It is an average of what the funds will do over time. So that's where your homework becomes very important. My account for me is averaging 13.42% a year since I started investing when I was, I think I did my first investment when I was 19. So it's not what you get. Like I said, the market goes up and goes down. What you want to do is have an average of 6 to 8% over the long term. That means that 1 year you might make 13%, 1 year you might make 5%, 1 year you might lose 10%. But if you're doing dollar cost averaging, you will take advantage of all of those events and be able to build your wealth over the long term. And the average that you get over time is what we're trying to achieve with that 6 to 8%. I'm not allowed to provide advice on stocks to buy. I'm just looking through all the questions here, Christina. What if you increase? What if you increase the amount of money you put in every year in the tax-free savings account? So yeah, again, the beauty of the tax-free savings account is that if you did not put all the money in, you can carry it forward and you can increase it as you go over time. So the more money you put in, the more chance that your money has to be able to, the more chance that your money has the ability to compound and double over time. How do you decide when to let go that isn't providing enough returns? So I'm not allowed to give investment advice to you. So any questions in regards to, investment advice, I can't comment on because that's not allowed. So many different platforms that you can buy stocks, Wealthsimple, Questrade, Qtrade, Scotia iTrade, TD Water, like every institution has. There's no better platform or anything. It really comes down to the cost of doing your trades. I think that this is a great question. Is it better to invest your money or let someone else invest for you? There is a value to advice. I will say this, there have been many studies done by many intelligent people, professors at university that have come out and said that people who work with an advisor normally come out, about roughly will make more of a return by about 2 to 3% compared to someone who does it on their own. Being an advisor, I'm a little biased to this because again, I know how well my clients are doing, based on the advice, because I am not emotional about money. Most people who are managing their own money become emotional and will probably sell things that they shouldn't sell, or they will probably do it at times that is not the best of times to do. So I personally think someone else should be helping you, invest your money. You can't make a mutual fund. It has to be, there's laws with it. Only companies can make a mutual fund. Yes, you can have more than one TFSA account. You could have one as long as you don't go over the limit of what the government allows. So you could have a TFSA with Scotiabank, and you could have a TFSA with TD Bank or Wealthsimple, as long as you don't go over the limit. If stocks or mutual funds go down, the only time you lose money is if you sell the stock or mutual fund when it is down. Yeah, I don't normally recommend to sell a mutual fund or stock when it's down. That's a buying opportunity if I believe in it. But the only time you lose money, it goes down in value, but you don't lose money until you sell it. Great question here by YV. At what age can we start investing in a TFSA? Age 18. At 18, the year that you turn 18, you can open up a tax-free savings account. For 2024, if you turned 18 this year, you can put in $7,000 into your tax-free savings account. And if you do not invest like all 7,000, you can carry that amount, the difference, forward and use it in future years. I think I mentioned the books already. What are some investment tips that you have for 15 and 16-year-olds? Do we start investing even if we get a job at that age? Is investing in a home and land also type of investment because they go up too? Yeah, the investing in a home or property is investing as well. The only thing is that we have a term called liquidity, so it's not really easy to sell a home. It's not really easy to buy a home. But it is easy to invest. You can start investing with $25 a month. So if we go to our bank and we use CIBC and do a mutual fund where we put 1K per year by 50, we should be a millionaire. So no, I think you're misinterpreting what I'm saying. I'm saying is if you put $6,000 a year, by the time you're 50, if you make 8%, you will have $1 million by the time you're in your 50s. If you're only doing $1,000 a year, so just divide that by 6. So you'd probably have, what's $1 million divided by 6? So you probably have about 100,000, 150,000 more or less. Um, I'm just going through the questions here, Christina. Can you elaborate a little bit more on paying yourself more? So it's not paying yourself more, it's paying yourself first. So if you have a part-time job and you're making $100 a week, what I'm saying is take $20 and put that money aside for investing or savings. When you've gotten enough, then you can invest that money. But if you just take your $100 paycheck and you just spend all of it and you're not saving any of it, then you're going to have a hard time creating any wealth because you're not saving any money. So Christina, I think that most of these are just repetitive questions.
That's awesome. We've gotten over 100 questions from the audience tonight. You only have 6 minutes left. So if there's any other advice you'd like to share with young people just starting out, I'll pass that
So I
over.
think the main question here, I'm showing people like what it takes to make $1 million by the time you're in your 50s, right? I think the most important thing I want people to understand is it's not about the $6,000. It's about starting. Start investing in yourself. Start getting into the good habits of, you know, put money, pay yourself first. We have this, unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society where we're promoted to spend everything and keep up with our neighbors, our friends. If they have like an Adidas jacket, we have to have an Adidas jacket. If they have like Nike shoes, we have to have Nike shoes. What I'm saying is we have to break that cycle and put ourselves first. You know, my daughter bought a condo when she was 20 years old. Um, because she followed what I told her from the time she started working. Uh, she's able to build up a great amount in her tax-free savings account by the time she's 24 because she's listening and she took my advice about, you know, paying yourself first. I think that that's the most important message that people need to get is it's not the amount, it's the habits that you're trying to create. It's the psychology of I'm paying myself first, I'm putting money aside. So, because there is nothing better than to build your wealth. So that way you can do whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to work until you're 65. Um, I have a client of mine that retired at 42 because he just invested really well and he built up his money and you know, he's now retired. He's been retired. He's 48. Now he's been retired for 6 years. I could retire if I wanted to. I love my job. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. So I don't want to retire. But if I wanted to retire, I could retire. I could have retired probably 6, 7 years ago. What I'm trying to say is just get started. $25 a month, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it'll go a long way. When you have more money, you go from 25 to $50. When you have more money, 50 becomes 100. As you get older and you're in your career, you finish university and now you're making 50, $60,000 a year. All those times that you were creating like that habit of paying yourself first only multiplies as you get older. And that the more that you multiply that as you get older, the more money you will have, the more you will build. And, you know, the closer you can get to being a millionaire by the time you're 50. I have helped about 39 of my clients become millionaires without having to invest $1 million. But I've helped them get to having $1 million in investments. So it all starts by creating the habit. It starts by creating, you know, the good habits. Educate yourselves. Work with professionals like Christina. Ask questions. Your parents work with an advisor who will guide you the right way. Like I said, the books that I recommend, The Wealthy Barber and The Automatic Millionaire, those are great starting points. I'm going to have to call up the authors and tell them they have to pay me a royalty for the recommendations.
I put them in the answers. So if you check out the answered questions in the Q&A, you might be able to see it. There's a couple of other interesting questions here, Gus, that I did not write. These come from students. One
Okay.
is, what did you study in post-secondary? Did you start off in finance? And so that's the first one. Unrelated is, how could I get, or could I get my parents to open an investment account for me and then transfer it to my name when I turn 18?
Yeah. So I'll answer the first one first because I have a really, and I'll make this really quick because we don't have a lot of time. So I am actually a youth worker by trade. I'm a social worker. The way I got into this was my father passed away and we went through a horrible ordeal as a family. And, I ended up getting some money and I had to learn how to invest. So I decided I was going to come into this. I started learning. I took finance courses. I took investment courses. I went and got my investing license. I learned about mutual fund stocks, just investing in general. And that's how I kind of got started. But my initial career had nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. I was a youth worker running a drop-in center with high school kids, 22 years ago. What was the next question, Christina? The other interesting one?
Can I get my parents to open up an investment account
Right.
and then transfer it to my name?
So, depending on how old you are, if you're 16, then yeah, your parents could open an investment account for you. And then at 18, you can then open up your own tax-free savings account. I'm going to tell you something that I tell a lot of my parents that I work with. Parents are doing a big disservice for their kids if they're not helping them like build up their tax-free savings account. So I tell parents like it's not a matter of putting all of it, but let your child have a tax-free savings account. If you have extra money, help your kids out by putting it in their tax-free savings account because it's a great learning opportunity where both the parents and the child, like the student, can kind of work together and learn about investing and learn about the advantages of a tax-free savings account. And they're helping you start on the right foot in your investing future.
There's just so many great questions. Like
Not enough time.
no, no. One was, will Gus be coming back to the next launch? So I will, if I have a say, I'll be doing my darndest to make sure that he does.
If I can, I will. I love doing this stuff. I love helping people. I love helping younger people, especially understand money and understand, you know, you don't have to be super smart. I'll actually tell a quick story. So I have a client who's a janitor and he's very good at paying himself first. And he has just under $1 million at the age of 57. Um, you don't need to make a ton of money. You just need to be smart. Like again, learn to live within your means, learn to, prioritize yourself in order to be able to do the things that allow you to build as much wealth as you can in future. I'm just looking through the questions here too, Christina. So the secret is to manage your money and save it, invest as much as possible. Yes, Annis, you're on the right track. Do you believe college or university is important? It all depends on everyone. Like any form of education will never be bad for you. I did not go to school for finance or investing. I went like I took a lot of psychology courses. I probably use more psychology in my work every day than I use like math or science or anything else in finance. So again, there's no disadvantage to higher education for anybody. I will always advocate, go out and educate. And if you can afford to educate yourself, then make sure you're a good reader and you read good books and you teach yourself what you can do. I mean, we've all heard the story. Bill Gates quit university, Steve Jobs quit university. Um, these guys went on to create Microsoft and Apple. Why? Because they had a passion for what they did. They learned about it, they read about it, they developed, they made mistakes, and they continued forward. There are no disadvantages of a TFSA other than, the risk you take in the investments in the tax-free. The TFSA for the younger generation, and I say this to everybody, it is the best investment invention that could have been given to the younger generation. It is a huge wealth builder that if you are not using it and people are not telling you to use it, you are making a big mistake, because there's no other vehicle that you can invest in where you don't pay tax on the growth, like meaning what you make on it, and you don't pay tax on the withdrawal when you need that money. So to me, the tax-free savings account is one of the best things that any young person can start with.
We're going to have to wrap up here. There is a closing ceremony if anyone is interested in taking part in that. Just want to give a big shout out and thanks to Gus for joining us and for sharing his wisdom and expertise with us. On that note, have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.